Welcome back to Our Better Angels. This is case number 2. Now, we ended case number 1, which took place during the 20s. And it took place across at least two different alternate universes. Very strangely, the case being that it felt very much like they transferred themselves from one reality to another. In a moment, I'm going to break the veil a bit on my side and give a bit more detail as to what that meant and how that actually works in a mechanical sense. And when I say mechanical sense, I mean like physics sense, so we can kind of understand where we're coming at this current story with a bit more clarity. I know that's vague, but I promise that beat will make a lot more sense here in a bit. That said, I'd like everybody to just introduce themselves. We obviously don't have characters. We'll start with the new person since everyone else has been here for a while. But yeah, she's obviously been here the whole time too. Go ahead, Elizabeth. Tell us about
I've
yourself.
just been in the chat.
Tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I've been playing tabletop games since I was 16. I'm now 32. You do that math. Yeah, I don't know.
Very cool, very cool. And
I
then
like
Brent,
chilling in the chat.
Brent, you're like 16, so she's been playing games as long as you've been alive. Tell us
Yeah.
about yourself, Brent.
I'm here to possibly mess something up. You know, that is my new goal in life for Call of Cthulhu games. I'm just gonna try to be as much of a menace as possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't your
And
fault last time. I mean,
no,
definitely.
it wasn't my fault last time, but it canonically now fits. So
Yes.
You're not collecting
we're gonna
cursed
go with
items.
if I can find them.
Oh man, that was a goal. We didn't get the jewelry box, but yeah,
Aww.
some stuff left on the table there, Brent.
Missing one.
We'll fix it this time. Andy,
Yup.
tell us a bit about yourself. Andy.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Andy. Um, Back to role-playing games after, let's say, a 30-year hiatus. D&D, love Call of Cthulhu, and fun fact is my character is now the same age that I am.
Oh,
Which we are going to discuss. This will be a very interesting point of
wild.
order that I've kind of briefly mentioned. And Chody, last but not least, tell us about yourself.
I'm Jody. I've played games with John for a long time, and I just try to have fun.
Absolutely, and
Hell yeah.
every single time a surprise. I love to see it. I can't wait to see the characters we develop here, but I want to focus on the thrust because we obviously have some questions, and I posted some vague things in the chat that kind of give you an idea about the specific locale. Before I get into all of that, I just want to make sure. I know some of you here have already kind of listed your boundaries, like what's too much, what's too weird, what's awkward, and the like. Elizabeth, you watched that episode. If you want them to reiterate their kind of, borders there, we can. But I think mainly just adding yours to the group would be best. If everyone else wants to recite like where the line is for you, we're good to go over it as well. So what's too much for you when it comes to kind of cosmic horror? Um, Obviously, for me, like harm to children, not a fan, and situations where like agency is kind of removed from people in a sense.
Mhm.
Now, I want to clarify too. There will be moments where like mind control, enchantment, possible possession in the case of Brenton Chandler last case will come up, but those will usually be discussed prior to them happening with the player, so that they don't feel like they're being kind of caught off end in that regard. But those are mine. Those are kind of my positions when it comes to matters that are of a sexual or horribly like violent nature. I typically will just kind of vaguely mention it and not get into details unless people pry. Then I will give more details if they are wanted. So for you, what are your kind of areas?
So the veiling of like super violent and like sexual violence is generally pretty good. The only like hard one that I have is like no like drilling into brains or anything like
Okay.
that torturous. I watch a lot of horror movies, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty used to most things. But that one, I couldn't do it.
One that I'll typically, and I have a similar kind of ick, but it's like when people have their chest cracked open for like an autopsy.
Ugh.
That's a yuck. That's a yuck for me. So that's very 10-foot pole mentioned if it ever happens in my games.
Yep.
How
And
about on-screen animal abuse? We don't want to do either,
Oh, yeah.
probably,
I
right?
typically don't have animals in games unless some idiot ranger brings them into the game, or they're like a monstrous thing that I'm throwing at you. So I don't think that's going to come up here. And if it is a animal, it's probably going to be in some way kind of like twisted or warped. So very clearly not cuddly or innocent. Anybody have anything that, again, from the last time we have, a pretty easy list to follow? I know, yeah, there was not much. Everybody good? Okay. So we'll just maintain off the same. And then to the point. So the entirety of this case will be taking place in a town called Nelson, which you folks will know by a different name of Byko. It's no longer called Byko. The reason why it's no longer called Byko, can anybody guess?
People kept pronouncing it wrong.
People kept pronouncing it wrong, right? No. Because it never was known as Byko in the reality that we're in. So, Andy, when we say you are playing your character, you will be playing the exact same character. The narrative will be very close to exact, on beat, for what you know, except that there will be two major points of change, which we'll discuss. And that's just what he realizes as truth. There was never a town called Byko. It was always Nelson. Is the one that I'll reveal now. The one that I'll reveal at the end will be kind of more poignant. So the group needs to be prefixed. It needs to be a group that is working together from the onset. It can't be a ragtag group of individuals like last time that just show up. It's very much a situation where, and Chody, I think you kind of mentioned it in the lead up in the Discord, a little bit of the thrust mentally for me kind of came from a similar perspective. So the New England Society for Psychic Research is something that's very much modern in this
So they
era.
are in this area?
They are, but you are basically you are volunteer members who are doing it extracurricularly, and because there are
It was
Go
founded in
ahead.
1952, and we're in 53, so they're brand new, right?
brand spanking.
Okay.
So
Ooh, I
the
love
thing
that.
is, that we have a person who very much has dedicated themselves to psychic and supernatural research in the group.
Can you say the name again? New England Society for.
Psychic research.
All right.
It's
Thanks.
Ed
it's
and Lorraine
an actual
Warren.
real thing.
Yep.
Yep. It's
Correct.
great.
And if you're familiar with Ed and Lorraine Warren, then great. But the thing is that this group is extracurricular for Miskatonic Academy students. That's the key there. So if we are going to have a grouping of teachers, I need at least half of the group to be students. Now, with the characters that we're having as carryover, and that would be Andy, and in a way Zach, we already have the halfsies at the start. We just need to continue that half process. Zach said that he would be playing, and again, we will have more discussion when he arrives. He's a little late today, folks. Give him some time. But he said that he's going to be playing the offspring of his character, Henry Fitzgerald. And they would have been going to Miskatonic University. Now, in this, the second part that's changed, Andy, and this is going to be a hard one for you to wrap your head around, but I want to make sure you understand where you're coming from on it. The first difference that I mentioned is the town was never called Byko, it was called Nelson. Very easy, simple to figure out. The second change is the end of the last campaign in its entirety. Instead of walking away, broken and battered and bruised, and then going to New York and being recovered by Fitzgerald's money, and then hiding away in secret as a doppelganger of you roamed about, you won, and the creature fled, and you remained in the school. You are the
Okay.
one who stayed there.
Okay, so I'm still affiliated, or was affiliated with Miskatonic.
Correct. Everything in
Okay.
the campaign happens as it stood, but instead of you playing a dejected individual who ran away from the school because of the intruder,
Yeah.
you're effectively playing the position of the intruder.
Oh, so I'm.
You're not an intruder. You
Oh,
are not
okay,
an
okay,
intruder.
okay,
What I
okay.
mean to say is as far as you understand it, you are the one who won that day,
Mhm.
and you have maintained your position in the academy and have grown your research there instead of in Boston or in New York.
Okay. Um. Okay.
So that's why when everyone was like, "Oh, I'm thinking about playing the same character," I was like, "I think it'll be easy enough to explain to Andy how the switch happens." It's important that you understand that though, and the for why, because we're not where we're at. So we're not where we were at. We are very close to where we were. For everyone
So-
else, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
we're in a sort of a parallel universe where
Correct.
Arthur Prime, that would be how he would think of himself.
Every single one will always think of themselves as the only one that exists.
So what I'm trying to make a distinction is that am I really playing as Incursion Arthur?
You are not in any way, shape, or form, to your understanding, anything besides a human professor.
All right. All right.
Now, I will say that when Chandler and Brent became those things, they very much knew what they were.
Got it.
We retconned Brent a little bit, but not much.
Mhm.
Because we had already I was already kind of playing with the fact that Brent was an incursion character. And then when he actually failed the check, that's when it came up. And I want to stress, because again, pulling the veil back a little bit here. When it was, why is my brain not working? When it was Brent's character and Chody's character inside the mausoleum by themselves with Chandler outside, like, not wanting to be seen in the mirror because he knew it would reveal him. Which is why he stepped outside, by the way.
God damn it.
Those two had to make the save. Remember, both failed.
Mm-hmm.
Why wasn't Chody Bianca rather, turned into an intruder?
Yeah.
The combs.
My comb.
combs,
Yeah, I had the
yeah.
comb.
Right.
Mm.
So, very interesting points of order that were happening there. I actually had to spend like a good 5 to 10 minutes after, like, with Chandler the first go, just asking him if he wanted to choose his own adventure. So when it comes to these moments and these beats, I want to make sure you understand how it's going to come to you. I'm going to reach out to you on the side. I'm going to give you two options. You are either going to play it safe, and I go with the simple methodologies of how it would work in a regular Call of Cthulhu game, or I'm going to say you're going to take a risk. And if you take that risk, it's a choose-your-own-adventure book style thing. Your character could die in that very moment and be replaced by an intruder at that moment.
Got it.
Absolutely an option. The stuff that's happening here is going to be a bit more sinister, though, than simple mirrors.
Oh. Okay.
So,
Fine.
so focusing up, Andy, it is still your desire to play Arthur Haynes despite what I've explained to you.
Yes.
Okay, great. We will presume that Zach is also wanting to play Fitzgerald's child in school and basically warmed up to you in the pursuit of the paranormal. Great.
Okay.
Elizabeth, Brent, Chody. Your characters are brand spanking new with no connections to the plot thus far. Of the group, at least one of you has to be a student, preferably two of you, possibly all three of you, but you would be younger investigators who are following the lead of the older investigators into this process. With that said, focus on your ideas. I know you have some stuff that you're kind of coming into the equation with to start with. You do not have to be related to the school at all. You just have to be related to that society, because that connects you to Arthur Haynes. And then you will be a part of the group that is investigating Nelson after the strange pale lights of December 5th. Whoever wants to start.
I'll just be a student. I think that's fine. I can work with that.
Okay. Brent, what about you? You want to student up, or do you want to be a teacher type?
I'm not smart enough to be a teacher, so I'd prefer to be a student.
You're going to be a student?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we've got our quota for students. But you can also play a student as well, which means that it would be Arthur Haynes as the teacher and everyone else as his Scooby-Doo crew.
I love it.
Yeah. I could be a teacher.
Okay. So you'd be more of a peer with Arthur Haynes in this matter. When we look at the ideas that have already been presented, and we understand a bit too about the early concepts of the paranormal investigators in the 50s, what we see is there's a lot of focus on historical context. And sometimes it's paying attention to the historical context of items that are considered to be haunted or psychically connected or what have you. And we also think about, mainly we think about the kind of just, it's mostly the history, right? It's mostly the presence stuff is something anyone can do or make up. But when it comes to the actual, like, objects, like, I'm thinking of the Annabelle doll. Obviously, they did research on how it came to be and, like, what happened, with it. There's, like, the Dybbuk box. There's all these different historically kind of connected things that might have the wrong of it when it comes to actual historical details, but are also based, in some cases, entirely in, like, a historical sense that makes it more realistic for folks to pay attention to. So Arthur is an antiquities, deals with the more physical properties of history, like the actual objects.
Can we say that over the course of time, as a result of his experiences, he also became interested in the more, like, arcane, like...
Oh yeah, I'm sure your connections to the esoteric group remain. I don't think that those changed after everything. What I would say is that you've shifted away from that group because they have seen you as a bit of an outcast due to your willingness to kind of open it up and not do it in secret. And so you're more tied to this new group, which is kind of a bit more forward-facing, and for you that's more important. Because Arthur Haynes, to be honest, was the one that was trying to reveal it to everybody else, or maybe he was using them all as guinea pigs. I don't know his motivations.
Can we say that Arthur... So I was actually doing some research about this. So Arthur is my age, 58. But the life expectancy in the year he was born, 1895, would have been 46.33. So he's a different kind of 58, I would guess.
Yeah.
Probably. But so let's say he's semi-retired. And Liz, how would you feel if your character was a former grad student who is now the professor, and then, like, basically Arthur is kind of like the semi-retired mentor professor?
Okay, I kind of know how that dynamic would work. I had professors like that in college, so...
I dig it. I like the idea, too, like, thinking about it. It could be the case that in Arthur's old age, especially after the event, right? Like, the very kind of horrific...
Oh, I'd also want to play him as having, like, not his full use of his left arm that was clawed, like it's never been the same kind of a thing. So he probably can't, like, use a weapon in that arm. He could move it around, but it's limited mobility, stuff like that.
Yeah, I love it. So what I was thinking too is, like, kind of a good duo from pop culture that folks might, kind of be able to relate to, is like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So we're looking at more kind of like a Sean Connery who has, like, these kind of esoteric notes and all of this stuff. And then we have someone who is kind of into the paranormal, but is more focused on the actual history of these things and is learning that that's kind of weird, though. And so, like, there might be kind of clashes about how things are done because Arthur is very much willing to kind of risk it all, where, like, pragmatic pragmaticism comes from the character we're making with Elizabeth, or vice versa. Maybe in his older age, he's become more cautious.
Especially after you got really messed up.
And then on the opposite side, you have Elizabeth's character who's basically following in Arthur's footsteps in a way, and is lining herself up to get slashed by a monster. Yeah, that's great. Brent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will take 5 turns to cast that spell.
That's great. I love that.
I'm actually going to hold on to it this time. I'm going to wait it out. Okay. I mean, that's great. So, again, and Chody, if you're locking in with student, and Brent, I assumed you were going to lock in with student regardless. I'm not, again, it does seem like it would be a better fit for you. But if you want to, there were ideas you threw out in the initial. They're not unworkable.
It won't work with what we're doing, man.
They're not unworkable. No, that's not true. So let me explain as to why. So you have a person who is very much into the occult. You have a person who's very much trying to get into the occult, your character, because they feel like this Ed and Lorraine are making money hand over fist because they're doing this, and you think it's all bullshit. And so you're like, yeah, let me in on that psychic group. Right? And so you're a con artist, and you're actually getting in with this teacher in Arkham, and then, his students and this other teacher, and your mentality is like, okay, I'm going into it, I'm just doing it, I'm just going to be the face. You're writing notes, you're doing what you can, and like as the story continues on, you not being kind of related to the history here, not being related to the school, not being related to any of this, will be kind of like almost a Luke Skywalkerian kind of perspective. You're a con person who's going to slowly become more straightened by the.
And that's what I was going to do. Like I said, I just didn't know
that
how
works.
door stuff. That'll be If
that works.
That way, that's fine.
So you're not coming at it you're a part of the group in this because you were basically pushed onto Arthur Haynes by the society, right? They didn't know what to do with you, and since you two are in the same region, they were just like, oh, you're both members of the same secret society. So in a way, you're kind of filling the Chandler position. Like, I'm a part of the secret society. Oh, so are you. And then they kind of like became friends in a way, but the difference is they both believed, and you do not.
Right. Yeah.
You're like, okay, so there may be situations where it comes to a quiet moment where you're like, with Arthur, you're like, okay, so like, what, you need like cheesecloth or something? Do you need something like that?
Well, that's kind of what I was wondering if I could take my role as being, because before you mentioned the con man part, which might work out, I was going to try to be the kind of the IT guy, and the fact of being I do all the tape recordings, I do all the video recordings,
yes,
I do the compasses, and
yes,
I can fake them.
Oh, hell yes.
To make it work right.
No, so that's even more perfect because Arthur Haynes doesn't do technology, right? And the way we've got Elizabeth's character lined up, I mean, character-wise, the teacher is probably just kind of, younger, also cooler, way better than, like, original version Arthur Haynes, right? It's like the cool, new, fresh...
But what I could also see is that Liz's character might be
hold on, sorry, I wasn't done. Not boring. Totally radical. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Right, we get it. Liz's character is young and maybe whip smart and kind of maybe potentially sees through Chody's character a little bit, so there could be some tension there too.
Whereas Arthur on the other side thinks that since he was brought in by the agents or by the group, he can't be like a complete charlatan, right? Like that'd be weird. I love that. That's a really cool trichotomy there. Good. And then
because they use reel-to-reels and video cameras and stuff, but they didn't use EMFs. They use compasses usually. But it's like the reel-to-reels and the EMFs. He could be all about those.
I love that. And so that makes perfect sense. And it could be too, like you said, you're kind of creating the effects, right? But I'm trying to think. Like you can't really discredit the proof that will be presented to you by your own eyes, right?
Right. It's going to be something where he builds into believing. It's like, holy crap, this is actually happening.
And I love the idea too that you are technology focused in a world where like the technology of television is so kind of like it's prevalent at this point, right? It's become more prevalent. Radio is kind of dying out in the 50s. You've got this kind of very kind of boob tube boom, right? That you're kind of focused on. So I love that too. That's very, very cool. Absolutely. So stay focused on that. Do not lose. That is great. And then Brent, a student, but again, that's very vanilla, right? Like, I don't want it to be that bland. I definitely want to give you some opportunities here to throw in some ideas. What do you got? What are you thinking?
Like my just drop of the hat idea was like when you were streaming the other day, the pyromaniac.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea honestly because it
Hello.
encompasses
It
what
is
I
me.
want to do.
I want to burn stuff down. So that's
Chaos
interesting.
demon.
That's interesting, but a little limited.
A little much, yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, that could be a trait that you have that you really like fire. But
Why did you get that trait? Why?
Because he likes burning houses down.
No,
'Cause
no,
his
no,
name's
no, no.
Brent.
It's got to be more than that. Because why do you like to burn things down? What about your past makes you want to burn things down?
He played in a game of Call of Cthulhu, and it really worked for him for like the conclusion to the story.
No, what about your character's past?
Honestly, I was thinking of something along the lines of like maybe like because they had firefighters in these times, so I was thinking
Yeah.
something along like maybe one of his parents was a firefighter or something, and, you know, or maybe he was in a house fire or something when he was a kid, and he was just like, oh, that's awesome.
that little girl that's standing in front of the burning house.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, the fire services have been in place in the United States here and there since 1736. So
Yeah, it's been
firefighting
long.
has been prevalent. I believe in earlier times, like in the 1600s and like late 1500s, there was very much an idea that if you didn't have insurance, you wouldn't receive fire support. But then the neighbors who had insurance, having their houses burned down because someone's house wasn't helped because of proximity, caused a lot of
Yeah.
people to put it to public.
What about a
notice.
Cthulhu connection? Like it can get real dark. Like what if Brent's character was abused as a child by like a neighbor or something, or
Well,
a family?
that kind of hits a point where it's like,
But this would be off screen though.
okay, fair. So I mean,
And we're some and then like eventually walked in and there was like this person was burning from there was some sort, like maybe called forth some sort of a demon. This person was burning in the fire and that prompted Brent's character to want to burn things. I don't know.
could go. What I'm thinking is if it's kind of a retributional fire. Is that what we're thinking? Is that something
Yeah.
you're interested in, Brent?
Yes.
It could be the case that the character you're playing here was an orphan, and that kind of situation was very common in like the 40s due to the war. You had a lot of kids being kind of, I can't deal with it. I'm a single parent. My husband went off to die, and looking at them reminds me of the sadness of them having to go fight in a senseless war. Due to, sensible war on our side, I guess, but because fascism sucks. But the point I'm saying here is that your character started off very much kind of alone, bullied by others in your peer group or olders, and that orphanage burned to the ground. So your character starts burning an orphanage. I mean, how? I mean,
Oh yeah,
Oh.
I love it.
we love that.
I love it. Yeah.
And so a lot of people think that happened the way it happened, but let's try and work through how it really happened. So, television. How old are we thinking for your character? College age.
I was thinking like maybe 20, 21-ish. That's about a
So-
college age kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like a sophomore.
If it's 53, then that means
Sophomore,
you would have
junior.
been born in 33. And we were probably burning down orphanages at like 7. I think
Yeah.
7's a good murder age, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
when you get a taste for murder.
Yeah, first time.
1940. So I'm just trying to check the prevalence of. So yeah, it was just 4 TV stations, and so it could be the case that this influence, this kind of desire for wrath or fiery retribution, was picked up by some other form of medium. Now, we're not talking about a direct Cthulhu link, right? In that regard. I think that the onus of it might come to that point, but I think kind of the emotion that wells it up is kind of important for us to kind of fit here. And I'm kind of looking for like a starter, if you will, something that kind of creates the desire for fire. So a book or like a TV show or let's see, popular TV shows in the 1940s. It's like the Burninating. I have no idea. I don't think any of us.
Is it possible that like more of these mirrors might have potentially existed?
No.
Okay. Because I was thinking, like, what if he saw like this person or some person, like, or what if he saw in the mirror his house was burned, the house was orphanage burning, and that prompted him to do it?
Of course. I would say it would probably be.
Seems like there was a lot of fire-centric movies in the 40s.
Yeah, but movies would be harder for him to see because that would have been theatrical, and he's an orphan. Like a TV could be something I could see in an orphanage, just like blasting to the kids. Like it's that early primeval version of just like, you know, baking your kids in front of a TV, right? Like the good method of parenting. Also known as an iPad kid in modernity. So there aren't going to be as many movies on that kind of on that format. I don't think they really had syndication for film at that time.
There were real life instances of big fires.
It could just be the news, right? It could just be the news.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, actual real life. And so like you would see these situations where ooh, this is good. So you're kind of like confined in this place. It feels like a prison to you. You can't get out. You can go into the yard on occasion, but you feel like you're locked here, right? And these people are torturing you inside of this space. The older children, your peers, the adults, etc. And so you feel like you're trapped here. And then you see these houses being burned in these kind of newsreels, and you can see the people like talking to the newscasters outside of the house. And it's that simple a process. If I want to get outside of the house, I just burn it. I just burn it down. That's what's happening outside, so I'll try it. And then the figuring out how to burn it. Imaginary friend is the angle I want to play on this one. So, in your mind, as an orphan child who, let's say, like, to continue a kind of fire attachment here, the reason why you were orphaned was your mom had passed away, relatively young for you before you were kind of sent over, like before you even remember her. And then your dad passed away, say 3 years before you kind of lit the place on fire. And he was a firefighter. And he died in a fire. So even further connecting to that. Your imaginary friend that you're kind of creating in this space, like who or how do you think that they would kind of look or be? Like, would they be a firefighter, or would they be something from, like, some other kind of precipice of your mind that you would want to try and push forward on this? What would be the trustworthy person for this character that, like, you would imagine being there for you? Or a whole ass conclave, I guess. But the cake is a burning orphanage.
Oh no. That was good shit.
Well, I imagine with him being 7 at the time of it happened, and imaginary friend-wise, it's probably going to be something more along the lines of, like, similar to something like Smokey the Bear, is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Like he had a teddy bear he liked, and that just became his imaginary friend, but with, like, fiery aspects, like maybe he's on fire, or maybe he's like got like smoke coming off his head all the time or something.
Okay. So a bear that was wreathed in flame would be the kind of imaginary friend.
Yep.
Okay. And so very.
Oh wait,
Go ahead.
no. Never mind. That's fine. I have teddy bear lore that I was like, wait a minute, because teddy bears weren't actually a thing until Roosevelt was president.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've had to bring that up several times.
Yeah. So bear.
Like professionally in theater.
Absolutely. And so yeah, I don't.
So it's one of my like sticking points.
I don't think it would be like a teddy bear. It'd probably be something more
Like a bunny or something.
doll-like. Yeah, like a plush
Yeah.
of some sort. I do like the idea of a bear. Let's see here. Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy bear invented
This is the 40s. Or
when?
30s.
Yeah. 1903, teddy bear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They didn't get popular. They were inspired by Theodore Roosevelt. Yeah, it was like right at the turn of the century. So we can have
Well,
a teddy
because
bear.
bears are scary, like notoriously scary.
Yeah.
Why would you want a little tiny, cute one?
Oh, I'd love one.
Oh, I mean, same, but now they're cute
I
to
had
us.
almost all the Care Bears when I was a kid. Anyway.
Hell yeah, Care Bears.
Teddy bear works for me, so I love it. I will. I would say that's perfectly fine. So the bear actually convinced you, and yeah, we're kind of going into like a what's the name of the guy who thought his dog was talking to him? Son of Sam kind of mentality.
Lassie?
Son of Sam.
Oh, Son of Sam.
In that kind of regard, but I don't think that he. Okay, so imaginary friend, bear wreath in flame, teddy bear wreath in flame, right? Convinces you to burn the house down. House is burned down. Orphans are relocated. You're brought to a much nicer a foster arrangement, where it's like you and like one other kid, and that kid is not beating the crap out of you. And then you are kind of raised up in that foster society, and then kind of make your way to college of your own accord, where you receive grants from the state and also federal grants to help you get into Miskatonic. I like that. That's good. But as far as imaginary friends, after that night, after it told you to burn the orphanage down, never happened again. Where was the orphanage? Do you want to be local, or do you want to be kind of a transplant?
I'll be a transplant this time.
Okay. So, I think New York is a pretty busy place, and lots of fires happened in New York, I think, during this time frame. I think this sounds like it makes sense. Anybody have any other thoughts on where it could be? New York, pretty good. New York City. Okay. So, City Boy, brought out down south to Boston area, Arkham, and college time. Okay, love that. So we've got an understanding of what Chody's character is like. I want to delve into the background like we just did with Brent, but here in a minute. I want to flesh out Elizabeth's character a little bit more before we get into the back lore for Chody. Is that cool, Chody? Thumbs up. just took a big ass drink of ice and water. Perfect time to ask a question. So Elizabeth, character-wise, we kind of have like an understanding of what the paradigm and kind of the aspect of the character we're looking for is. But I want to think about like how you got to the position you're in, and also a bit more about like what you think the character's kind of thrust or drive here is. So feel free to riff.
I think since she's probably a graduate of the program and then like probably went off and then came back, like did her own stuff for a little bit, then came back. I think probably the drive was for whatever reason, a lot of like it seems a lot of like there's a hub in the New England area
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of like of these like more niche
Investigators.
investigators and paranormal artifacts and experiences that people have. Not that there's not like paranormal elsewhere. It's like a different type of paranormal in the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So focusing here, and since there's already like this established like society, she came back to really like dig in, and she probably found some sort of like information. I haven't really dug into like what that is exactly, but like
Horrific. We love it.
yeah.
So, how old are we thinking this character is going to be?
I'm thinking like late 30s, early 40s, sort of.
So we're thinking like 38 or 42.
Like, yeah, somewhere between there.
Okay. So not like terribly older, or not terribly younger than Arthur. Close to the same age that he was when he first started getting kind of a little older than when he first started getting kind of messed around with by this stuff. Okay, love that. Now you said you wanted to. You said that you wanted to be kind of from here originally, and then due to the investigatory processes moved away from here, and then have returned since. How long ago do you think you returned?
Probably like 5 years.
5 years ago. Okay, so then you would have
Yeah.
been closer to middle 30s at that
Yeah.
point. Okay. And how long were you gone?
Probably like right after graduating with I can't decide if like it's a master's program or if she went off somewhere else to
So-
do the master's.
What I'm thinking, and feel free to cut me off at any point. This is just my
Yeah.
thought process. I'm thinking very much focusing my brain on, oh God, what the hell is the name of the film? Right in the top of my head, The Exorcist. So like instead of it being like you going around in America and investigating stuff, you went abroad. Like you went somewhere
okay.
out of country. You went somewhere a bit more connected to these mysteries than around here.
Yeah. Like actually like doing like maybe more like archaeological trips sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
But looking into the mystical side of it.
Absolutely. Because remember, you're taking over an antiquities department for
Yeah.
Miskatonic. It's a specific subsect of the history department. And it's very much the case that this is your line of studies. So maybe you're focusing on a specific avenue of study that is going to help you with. Why is that? I'm not a teacher. I'm about to get yelled at by a retired one. What's the thing that you do when you're like, it's like you're writing and it's like really important to your like.
Research?
No. It's a
Dissertation?
dissertation. That's the damn word. Thank you.
For the
so much.
master's.
Yeah. So you were working on your dissertation, and so this is very much a master's program. That was a very long
So
way.
for your master's, you do a thesis, and for your PhD, you do a dissertation.
Oh, that's
So for
right.
your PhD is what we're looking at, because
I only have a bachelor's.
I don't have
That's okay.
Shit.
So it would also make sense for Liz's character to have traveled in Europe, Italy, England, and maybe even Egypt,
Yeah,
Greece.
I'm thinking also again, and this is more for connections to the other game, Ireland and Scotland.
Where'd my pen go?
I've been there. It's fun.
Yeah, very cool. I have not been to Scotland. I kind of Ireland. more Wales into England. But point is that I think that she would be someone who, like, a bit more kind of connected to antiquities, and because of the development of travel across, because remember, Arthur Haynes would have been doing this when he was like in the teens, right? Like, or the early 1900s. So it probably was less likely that he would have had a similar kind of course to go out and abroad.
Yeah. Well, he would have been traveling by boat, whereas at this point I could
Fly.
travel by plane.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Because I was even thinking like India on top of that as well, because there's a lot of mystical stuff
now this is an interesting.
swinging out of there.
This is an interesting point of order because we do need to focus on the temporal nature of where we're at. So that would have happened. I would say that you would have been back closer to 3 years ago. And I'll tell you for why. Because if you were traveling around in Europe during the late 1940s, it probably wouldn't have been as enjoyable as it would be during the mid to late 50s. Or mid to late 40s. Right.
You right.
So, yeah. I'm thinking that, like, so obviously 47, 48 would probably be the cutoff. So you would have been traveling abroad probably in 49 and then came back 51. So you've been in Miskatonic for, what, 2 years now? I'd say is fair. And then before you went abroad, your plans were to go abroad sooner.
Right.
But before that, you were doing research and traveling around stateside. Yeah. Especially around Lovecraft County area, like Massachusetts and the like.
Yep.
Okay, love that. Focusing a bit further back, so you've been studying and planning this route for a long time. This is something your character has been building towards their life. Like, this is what she wants to do, it's what she's wanted to do. What was the onus for this? Why does she feel like this is her avenue for profession? Why does she feel like this is what she wants to do with her life?
I feel like there's probably some sort of like happening that happened, like paranormal happening, not necessarily like ghosts, but like some sort of like, and this is just me riffing, but like coming out, like being in the area and having some sort of like interaction with some sort of like cursed or haunted object. And then just like maybe her parents are more just like strict history teachers. Like there's like a lineage of teachers in her family.
That's
and
great.
Then having the interest, like an expanded interest into, there's this whole other like realm that like they're not even covering.
That's great. So we can actually get you a direct connect there. So that's very fun. Hold on a second here. The dean, or rather the head of the histories department from before was named... Mostly going through my conversation with... I am trying to find my conversation with this cool kid named Zach. I can't find it. Does anybody remember the name of the head of history's department?
I didn't take
Let me look. Hold on.
You wouldn't have had to have taken notes. You were an audience member.
I know.
That's
It's
your
a
last
joke
pat.
about Tuesday. They're always asking me,
Oh, yeah.
Elizabeth, do you remember? I don't take notes for this one.
Kimmy's insanely good at notes, though, so they don't...
Yeah. Oh, she's great.
Now, I could tell you the names of the dean and the department chair of antiquities, but not
No,
history.
There's no department chair of antiquities. You were a teacher for
Was
antiquities.
it Barry Wynn?
Barry Wynn. So your last name would be Wynn if you are interested in that connect.
Sure.
Because he's a histories teacher. He's not a... Yeah.
Okay.
How do you spell Wynn?
Wynn. Okay.
There's
So-
a couple of spellings, so.
He would have been, basically due to his advanced age, he would have been... Oh, you don't actually have to take his last name if you want to play the his daughter card. So he is your grandfather, because he was advanced age. He was like 60, very much well on his way to... He should have been dead 10 years ago, according to what Andy had mentioned earlier. But very old guy. So his son would have been your dad.
Right.
And his son would have probably been like...
Or his daughter? Question mark. You
Could
said
be his...
daughter
Yeah, it could be
earlier.
his daughter.
Okay.
Because there is no...
Oh,
this,
it didn't establish
yeah,
that.
there's no established offspring for the head of
Okay.
histories. So it could be the case that he had a daughter, and that daughter is your mother, or he had a son, and that son is your father.
Right.
And so
That would work.
if it was a father, obviously your last name would be Wynn, because that's how
Right.
society works. And then, yeah, da-da-da. Whatever last name you want, if your mom and dad... Yeah. So your mom, obviously... Again, I don't know. Were there a lot of...
Well, I was even thinking just like a school teacher.
Sure. Well,
Like
that-
maybe my mom was just like a school teacher. Like they met in college, and then
And then so the husband would be more kind of aligned with the actual history department.
yeah.
Unless you want to be completely removed from Miskatonic on the onset.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay. It's just the way you worded it before. I'm just making sure. You said a return, so just playing in that. Okay. Okay, so then we'll go ahead and say that your father was more kind of the college, like, teacher, and your mother was a kind of history teacher for, like, middle school or high school, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Do they have those back then?
I don't know. I'll ask my mom.
This will always be the... she was there.
Yeah.
Funny. So, okay, good. And so it's basically just like a connect to that and maybe something related to... Ooh. Okay, hold on. Let's do some math. 30... Let's go with 42. So you would be 53 minus 42, 11. You would have been 27 minus 11, 16. Remember during the fight, the escape, the creature got out and ran across the grass and got away.
Yeah.
16 isn't that old, but I think that during that time it would still be the case that you would require a chaperone if you were being transported anywhere as a girl, right? Again, it's
Probably. Unless we like lived like super close to campus, like
Yeah.
walkable.
that would be the case. You would, I mean, your grandfather did at least, if we're going with that angle.
Yeah.
So it could be the case that you saw that. A weird, twisted human thing running across the field. And that also creates a very interesting interplay for you and your relationship with Arthur, because that thing looked like Arthur. That could work. But let's focus on just the idea that your connection to histories is due to parentage. And
Right.
you're at some point during either then, like during your youth, or teenage years, something kind of caused you to become very interested in what happens in your grandfather's line of work, which led you kind of into that path, into the Miskatonic, wanting to become a university professor there. Okay, perfect. Shifting gears back to Chody then. We are a con person.
Yep, grew up poor, got a job as a kind of a what do you call it? Someone who just helps out.
Like a busybody or a
Yeah,
handyman.
in a radio station as a kid,
Yeah.
just trying to barely make it by. Realized that there was used con skills to kind of make it by, make a little bit more money. Realized that you have to go to college to actually make something of yourself. So I'm trying to get onto this college group to get a break in my tuition to be able to go to classes for
Ooh.
much cheaper. Then I just conned my way into this, being like, oh yeah, I work in paranormal because of the Warrens.
The Warrens. And you think that they're basically charlatans, because obviously the things that
They're
saying.
doing what I'm doing,
But
and they're just really rich right now.
Yeah, well, they're getting into it. They haven't gotten as much wealth. I think they started to pick it up during the mid 50s, but you can see it's going in a certain direction, I'd say. Okay. How old are we?
25.
25. Okay, and obviously we have no connections with the actual supernatural at
No.
this point. There's
No.
cosmic horror
I think
yet.
it's fake.
Okay. And then technologically, we have kind of a couple of skills on your sheet that might not be present on others. So we've all built a character before, right?
Kind of. I guess.
We can work through it together. It's okay.
Yeah.
So the main thing is we're going to do the roles. The only person who does not have to build a character at the table is Andy. But Andy, there are going to be a couple of additions to your character that I want to make sure.
I should also make the EDU rolls for. There's some potential bonuses and penalties for being older.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and handle your age real quick.
All right. So you want me to walk you through that?
Yes. So we have it for any persons who will end up in this group that end up in the 80s.
Okay. So if you're in your 50s, according to page 45 of the book, you make 3 improvement rolls for EDU. And so to make an improvement roll, you have to roll over your number. And if you roll over, then you can add a D10 to the number.
Very good.
And then after that, I'm going to subtract 10 from strength, con, dex, and appearance.
I'm going to go ahead and be extremely, extremely charitable and let you just subtract 5 from your appearance.
Okay.
Because we've already confirmed that Arthur is
You
a
a
handsome.
silver fox, bro.
We already confirmed Arthur is a handsome man, so we're
That's
not going
so
to.
sweet. Okay, so we're going to roll EDU, right? So where is that thing? Where's that? Okay. So I did not roll over. That's 1.
Okay.
I rolled over,
Which means.
so I get to roll a D10.
Okay. For education. Does that make sense?
And then I add 6 to my current EDU, so we're going to add that to make it 81.
Okay.
Whoops, I need to go edit mode. And then I'm going to subtract 5 from strength.
10 from strength.
Right, 5 from strength, so...
I thought you said
20.
10 for those.
Well, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you want me to only subtract 5 from appearance, right?
Yeah. Apparently, you're still hot. But you're still old.
Okay, so my strength is now 20. Sheesh. My con is now 60.
Still pretty good, though. I mean, he can.
My dex is now 65. It's not bad. And my appearance is... Now, where's appearance? Where's appearance? I don't even see it. Okay, anyway, it'll be 5 less.
Got it.
Do you want me to do anything different?
So,
Additionally?
there's that. Now, the things that we have to do in addition, the things that we're going to be adding. I want you to, on psychology,
Mhm.
I'm going through occult,
Mm-hmm.
anthropology, archaeology.
Wait, just go one at a time.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what you're doing, and then you can just do it when I say the names of them. We'll start from the top. For each one, I want you to improve it as if you had succeeded at a roll of it. So starting with anthropology.
Okay, so I'm going to start rolling d10s, right?
Correct, as if you had succeeded on a roll of it.
Okay. So that's his anthropology?
Correct. Anthropology to start.
Okay, so we're at 59. Okay.
Archaeology.
Again. D10. So we're at 17. Go ahead.
Then it would be library use.
Okay, we are at 72.
Occult.
Oh, please give me high. Please give me high. 4. Okay, that's not horrible. I'm at 84.
And psychology.
And psychology. 10.
Hell
Up
yeah.
to a high of 20.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
last but not least, the Cthulhu mythos I noticed for you is listed at 10.
Mm-hmm.
That improved when?
You allowed me before the last campaign to make it that.
Oh, that's right. Okay, cool. So then the same thing that I was going to do anyways. Increase it by 5.
Okay. Got it.
All right. Now, Elizabeth, as we get into your character, due to your background and specifically your determinant line of study, you'll be starting in the same position as Arthur did. So you'll be starting with a 10 in Cthulhu Mythos. Chody, you start with a 0 in Cthulhu Mythos. You have none.
I don't believe him.
Yeah, that doesn't exist. And Brent, you'll start
So
with...
I just do the use Charactermancer, right? Or
Yeah.
Doing...
Charactermancer works. And then Brent, you'll start with 1 in Cthulhu Mythos when we get to it. Depending on what we discussed with...
Is that under...
Cthulhu Mythos?
Yeah.
It's a
Is
skill.
it under skills?
Yeah, it should be on the left side.
Oh, I see.
You can't normally put points in it, I believe. It needs to be kind of awarded. But yeah, you've been studying.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the little pip.
Right. And then besides that, it'll just be general, generic, regular character creation. But I do want to focus a bit too. Brent, your character goes to the school. Obviously, your teacher is going to be Elizabeth, one of your teachers. And you are very focused on that, I would say, to the point where histories, with a kind of focus on antiquities, is your major. Little do they know, it's because you want to burn all of them.
Yep.
No, JK. Obviously, not really the focus. Don't you even play at it. But your focus is on those things. So you are familiar with Elizabeth's character. She is your teacher. So she's probably been your teacher for the last year. And we're looking at going into January. So it would have been during the year of 52 that she was your teacher. Like 51, 52. So like right when she got back and started getting back into the teaching bit. With her PhD and her dissertation completed. And then you would have then gone to her class again, an advanced class that she teaches, and also extracurricular activities involved with said course. So we're in January, is where we're starting, and we're on effectively a winter break, is what the time scale, like when this is happening. So we understand your connection to Elizabeth's character. Elizabeth, we understand your connection to Arthur Haynes. And for you, Brent, your connection to Arthur Haynes would be this is an individual who is not the head of the histories department. We'll have a new name for that person eventually. However, he was offered that position at one point and turned it down. So he is kind of a... what's a good word for a teacher who's no longer a teacher? Well, of course you know this because you are one. A teacher who is a very respected member of like the teachers community, but is no longer a member of the actual
Emeritus.
an emeritus of the Miskatonic Histories Department. I love having an English professor on the team. It helps a lot. I know it sounds stupid when I ask questions, but I think in the
Not at all.
end we'll sound super smart because we've got...
You're learning, John.
I already forgot. Emeritus. I did not. I was doing a bit. Just kidding. Chody, your connection is very simple. You are connected to Arthur. There is really no... Exactly. There is no other connection. Now, it may not have been Ed and Lorraine specifically that directed you to Arthur, and it may be the case that Arthur's never met Ed and Lorraine. You are a part of their group for purpose, and Arthur, it has always been your desire to get as much information about the supernatural events that you encountered in the summer of 1927 out into the world. Have you been able to replicate it since? No. The mirrors don't work. You have them. They are just mirrors. They are very ornate, very beautiful. The reason why your Cthulhu Mythos jumped up 5 points is because you've been playing with the symbols and sigils therein. And it was Henry who basically pulled you away from that kind of stuff and told you to be more focused on what you can see, not what you have to force yourself through the veil to see. Henry was very much about protecting Arthur from himself, and in your old age you realized that there was a wisdom in that psychopathic multi-millionaires' mentalities. When he gets here, we'll discuss the connection from the other student, but obviously the student therein will be a contemporary of Brent's character, so those two will basically be at the same grade level, the same kind of pathway. Really, there's not going to be one that's been in class longer. They're in the same whatever advanced course we're calling it for the antiquities that Miss Elizabeth's character will be teaching. They'll both be in that same course. And yeah,
You said
go
with
ahead.
the character mancer up, it says roll all. Do we do that now, or are we still waiting?
You can roll all. Yeah, we can build right now. So I'm here to answer any questions regarding your build. There are some functions in the character sheet that we'll be utilizing here that will be different than what we had available to us and on offer to us in 1927. Obviously, there is a skill called mechanical repair, which I like to think of as kind of the physical side of dealing with mechanism. There is also electrical repair, which I think will deal a lot with Chody, what your character is going to be handling. There is also a skill on here that is, for me, interesting, but obviously something that's more later mentally, computer use. And it's a skill that's not very commonly used in the 20s for obvious reason. I would like us to think of this in another way, too. It could be broadcasting as well, because electrical repair doesn't really, in my mind, kind of go with how radio operates, right? And how radio waves and radio broadcasts are kind of sent out. Nor does it deal with how television is broadcast in that way. I think the only skill that we really have on the docket here that I think would fit, and it's a bit of a stretch, I know, but I would say it's probably the best bet we've got, unless I'm missing a TV use skill. I'm going to say computer use, for our purposes, will be dealing with the kind of broadcasting side, broadcasting element of television, radio. So that one should be one you might want to kind of throw some points in.
Computer use.
Computer use. Am I wrong in that thought process?
I mean, I think either one would be work, but yeah, if we want to roll with computer use being it, that's fine.
Yeah, because electrical repair for me is more kind of like the fixing of electronics, right? Whereas computer use isn't something we're using, but broadcasting knowledge is not really something that's present there, right? You have an understanding of how radio waves are going to work. You have an understanding of how TV is going to work, but for me that's not an electrical repair thing. I mean, do you agree, or am I crazy?
Yeah, no, like I said, I think it's, the basics and stuff. I
Yeah.
think that you're right. The computer use would be more the technical thing of making it do what I want instead of making it work.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Can I switch two of my characteristic stats?
What did they roll? Weird.
Education was 50. I don't like that number.
What's the other one?
70.
What's this? What is it though?
Oh, it's size.
Yeah, you can switch them.
Okay. It just doesn't make sense for the character.
You should have a higher education, for sure.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm okay
I mean,
with.
I could also change out it for strength because I also rolled strength 70.
No, I mean honestly, either way, your call.
Okay.
I mean, I think you'd be really tall if you like go with a 70.
Right.
How tall was
I'm,
Chandler's character? Like six something?
yeah, he had like 85, I think.
Yeah, he had like an 85. He was like higher end 6 foot. Anywho, voice
Uh,
is gonna say Brent. I'm okay
so
with
do
the
I just
swap.
pick student as occupation? As occupation, I mean.
So occupation is. Let me double check here. Yeah, that's okay. Um, unless you can see something in another occupation that you think your character might be doing as either a focus for your studies or something on the side. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't. I seen like I passed researcher while I was going down to student.
That
So
would
I was
be
just like, I don't know if that one would be.
researcher would be fine. It's something that you're kind of focused on. Now I know that Arthur is what was his occupation?
Arthur?
Yeah.
He's a professor of antiquities.
Right. No, I mean like in your selection process. Was that
Oh, in my selection process, occultist.
that's right. So again, professor of antiquities, not the same as occultist. These
Yeah.
are removed, but we understand that the occupation is more the kind of focus. So yeah, there's definitely room for descriptive purpose, like you repurposing one specific occupation to fit your character.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I like researcher. I'm also very sad because all my characters are cursed to be freaking ugly. Apparently, because I got appearance of 45 on this one too.
Yeah. But to be fair,
You're better than 45% of people.
hey buddy, you can pop into the
That's very middle of road.
you can pop into the Zoom whenever you want.
Oh shit!
I didn't even see you pop in. If you want to, you don't have to either. It's fine.
No, I look good.
Sorry for making fun of your voice just then.
You said computer use, right?
Yeah, that would be like
Okay,
broadcasting.
leave alone.
And then I'm gonna immediately, upon having him pop in, just grill him.
No.
So, let us describe what we've got so far.
Yeah, start over.
We're just starting from the beginning, everybody. So just go ahead and just JK.
It's now 5 p.m.
So the thrust that I wanted to kind of highlight is that the characters here are related, like not in like a blood sense, but they are kind of connected in that they are all going to be a part of a group that is planning on going to a town called Nelson to investigate it during the month of January 1953 to search out information regarding pale lights that were seen in 1952 December 5th and supernatural kind of like paranormal activities. Check it out. Most of the individuals we have at current are associated with Arthur Haynes in one way, shape, or form. Arthur Haynes, in this narrative, where the town of Byko never existed and is actually a town called Nelson, is the one who won the day during the end of the last kerfuffle. So the invader escaped and ran away, instead of Arthur being the one who kind of ran away, beaten, battered, and bruised with the Allies. It was a victory, a resounding victory for your group. And I know the thought process is if that's the way you wanted it, why didn't you just do that? No, it's not. The way you won is the reason why we're doing it this way. So it would have gone the other direction had you actually won the day. It would have been us.
Okay, so we're in an alternate dimension
Right, so it's alternate.
where things went better.
Right, Arthur won. Arthur, Henry, and the crew won the day.
Okay, I was curious how Arthur is still going bar Arthur.
Correct. Right. So, a very interesting point too. But the thing is Henry has, after some more experimentation from Arthur after that point, has basically told him to stop and be a bit more mindful. And in his later years, Arthur has kind of become still interested in the supernatural, and as more supernatural like investigators are popping up, specifically the Warrens in our case, he is kind of linking himself to trying to research more about what happened on that summer in 1927. And so now that there are these weird pale lights appearing in Nelson, he's kind of decided, especially since people in his former department have come to him asking him questions, i.e. Elizabeth's character, he's decided that he wants to go and check out this town of Nelson, which he checked out so long ago when it was called Baiko in our version, and wants to go and figure out what these pale lights are and what it means, and if it's related to what happened back then. So you had mentioned you want to play the daughter of Henry Fitzgerald, and that's where my mind is currently, but if you have different angles, understanding now what the thrust of the story is going to be. We are all associated. We are all going into the town of Nelson together. The entirety of the case is going to happen in this town. The map of it is going to be very different. I'm not revealing it today. I will reveal it next week. So you're not entering it yet. You will investigate it and explore it at that point. It has obviously undergone a lot of changes from what you remember it because it was controlled by the Pinkertons for a decade after 27. So any questions that you want to ask about stuff? Because I did mention a shit ton. I can't, my brain's not.
My immediate jump to if I want to do anything at all related to Henry, and if our characters are meant to be. Sorry, I'm looking through my old character sheet.
Yeah.
If our characters are meant to be linked in some way,
they don't have to be. So Chody is playing a character who comes from the Ed and Lorraine Warren kind of supernatural society. I already forgot the name of it. I'll scroll up in a bit. I bet Chody
New
knows
England
it.
Society of Psychic Research.
That's the one. Thank you for taking notes. See, Brent? See,
someone's
notes
got a
are
pen.
good.
Brent, I'm on your
Sharpie
side, Brent.
and gel pen.
Writing silly.
I made a
It just
joke.
goes everywhere.
She said, "Where's my notebook?" And I was like, "Brent." Brent's like, "I thought Andy was the one who takes notes." Like they're just
I also
one-
have that note.
He is.
Very good, very good. So he is the tech guy. He's doing like the radio recordings and like all that crap. That's him. He's that guy. He's that asshole.
It's like MASH.
And then Brent is a student of Elizabeth's character, who is
We
kind
got
of.
two teachers.
Yeah.
We'll get to her in a second.
Buddy.
Brent, Elizabeth's student, very much interested in this kind of antiquity stuff, but very much more interested in the paranormal stuff. And then once he learns that his teacher's into it, is kind of like, me too, jump on the bandwagon. Now, you have to play a student. Your choice was already made for you by everyone else, unfortunately. Unless Chody wants to be a student who is like the AV kid who also is a part of the
And
society.
I'm trying to get into it, be a student.
Well, you could be a student. Like,
Chody,
that's how
Goofy movie. Pauly Shore's character.
Well,
You-
well, that's what the whole point of him
Oh.
working here is to get the ability to pay for his tuition.
so you're already a student. Okay, hell yeah.
Right.
Okay, perfect. We got two students. I want at least half, so three individuals to be students. It's kind of important. It'll make sense later. So you could play a student, and because of Chody's admission that he is now also a student, yes, much love it.
I thought he was always a
He said it. I
Yeah,
didn't hear it right. I'm dumb. Okay, it's fine. Chill,
I didn't hear
everybody.
it either.
John, listen to Chody.
Yeah,
whenever
Zach
he
didn't even
talks.
hear it at all. Zach didn't even hear it at all.
He wasn't
Chody
even
had-
here.
Chody ain't said a piece prior to 621.
More than fair. I obviously
Ate one
heard
peep.
it.
And watch it, Buster. See you at stick. Ooh.
I
Burn my
misinterpreted.
ass.
I misinterpreted what you said as you were trying to get into the school, like you weren't in it, but you were saying you're trying to pay for your already present fees for being in it.
Asked the background, so that's why my background of working in the radio station, trying to get in. This is just
Could've
a
been
con
prior.
to be able to pay for my school.
Because you're here now, and a lot of the tools you're probably getting are from. I'm assuming there's a department that's like a broadcasting department in the school. We're in a higher end.
Mass comm.
Yeah, we're in an early age of it, but yeah, I mean it's very much present for sure.
Yeah.
And then Elizabeth is playing a antiquities teacher who just
Love going.
2 or 3 years ago got back from a study abroad, 2 or 3 years out in like Europe, India, and Egypt, finishing her dissertation. She is basically in Arthur Haynes' old position, and she is kind of in the same brain space as Arthur was, where she's very kind of I can say it bluntly, or I can try and say it in a more flavorful way that sounds nice. Stupid would be the mean way. Curious about the esoteric would be the nice way. I mean, honestly, if a mirror is showing like
I've been called curious about the esoteric many times.
If a mirror is showing reflections of me that are not real, I am never going to touch that mirror ever again. Let alone reflected in front of another mirror that does the same thing.
You don't have the scientific experience,
I
clearly.
don't think it's science,
I mean,
man.
to be fair, I do have to say, if I
is
was
cutting edge of
holding a mirror
science.
in real life, I would do that.
I'm just saying, if we have a pattern of only bad things happening when this happens.
So,
Exclusively bad shit
you
or
could always
nothing.
see something good happen. You never know, you know? Like 99 times it's bad,
From
but one
like
time it could be
awkward,
good.
weird, am I seeing what I'm
See,
seeing?
we
To
wouldn't have
devastating.
We wouldn't have known if we didn't experiment.
I'd say after the third one, fucking quits.
so I guess the main thing is do you want to go
Man,
student?
shooting myself in the foot really does hurt, but I still have toes.
I have this whole other foot. I have this. I got 2 feet. I could do.
Willikers.
Other people have feet too. Let's go. I see what you're saying, but regarding student or not, the point is you have to be in some way related to either the school and their specific department and classes, or you need to be related to the New England, the psychic, that.
Okay.
The mumbles.
So, initial impression when you mentioned you wanted the characters to be linked somehow, not necessarily has to be.
Yeah.
Henry Fitzgerald, even if things went as swimmingly as they supposedly did in this dimension.
It's probably dead.
No, maybe. I don't know. He had quite a wealth. He'd be in his like early 60s.
He'd be dead.
Oh, okay.
I don't mean to
That's
be
fair of you.
Again, average life expectancy we discussed was like what, 50 something?
It depends
know.
on what year you were born.
It depends on how much fucking money you've got.
Yeah,
too.
so apparently, apparently, Zach
How long
thinks
did
that you
Rockefeller
can
live,
buy
Jeff?
longevity. Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a good question. How did the Rockefeller, J.D. Rockefeller? We'll use him
Plenty
as a
of people that live
template.
longer.
That guy lived apparently for eternity. Yeah. So you can do what you want. You're rich.
Well, I'm not planning to play as Henry.
Right.
The initial thought was,
He lived for like 100
Henry-
fucking years. Jesus Christ.
yeah, he had limitless goddamn money.
Kind of like Henry. So okay. I stand.
That's how money works.
That's how money works.
Death is for poor people.
Wow.
I forgot the overwhelming and horrifying weight of
And here
reality.
I thought that people with wealth were going to Kellogg's cereal retreat.
No, that was
That's what actually happened.
Oh well, yeah, probably a bunch of sickos. But
Anyway,
to you, my friend,
Henry would still be distrusting of the situation and want to keep tabs on it, and be interested in branching out to those informed of the paranormal and possibly try to hire out as like an A-team, like, oh shit, things are going down in what I thought was Byko. And is Nelson?
no. Well, your character won't think it's by
Right. That's me.
This version of Henry is identical to the last version of Henry, except that the 2 minor changes, well, 2 pretty relatively large changes. Byko was never Byko; it was always Nelson, and you did not lose at the at Arthur's office in 27. You won.
At least a draw.
No, you totally just smushed them in. Like Brent
No,
tried.
I'm saying in the real.
Oh, yeah.
in the alternate.
You kind of went limping away, and the false Arthur was able to take Arthur's spot. So it's a little bit of it's not so much a wash. It's a little bit
Anyway.
more. I was still rich though, so I guess you could just pull that card.
I was rich and alive.
Fuck.
So I was thinking either play as his daughter Molly. I don't know what her age necessarily would be. I kind of left her age up in the air.
She could be 20 as well. I'm assuming she wasn't. Was she born at the time, or
Yeah, she was alive at the time of the first game.
how old?
I didn't decide on that.
Okay, we'll just say very young. And if that's the case, then she'd be 26, 25, or
There's a
27.
26-year difference between.
She could be 27.
What's the age where like the turnover is for trade-offs? Is it 40?
Yeah.
I don't want to meta. I'd say she'd have at least been like 8 or 9.
Okay.
Because apparently nobody read my backstory stuff.
No, yeah, not at all.
Not at all.
Fine, whatever.
Could we even see it? I don't think I could see it.
I don't think you could have. I did write her down at 16, but I don't think.
So that'd be
that was
30,
married to
34?
Well-
34.
that. Whoops! I linked it. I meant to just whoops. Oh, don't read that. Now it's sad. Stop reading. I hear your
What?
nothing.
I'm not
He
reading.
doesn't want anyone to read it. And don't worry about John. He can't read.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I've never
I'd
read.
say
either.
I'm comfortable with her being like mid-30s if that's the route.
Okay, so it's probably not the case that she's a student then,
Probably not.
unless she's like a late entry into the college fair, right?
Or like a PhD
Well, if that's the case, then
or master's.
it would be kind of focused on that specific kind of course, right? That would be kind of like her focus. And if she's also an antiquities PhD, we're kind of in a state of like weird.
I don't want her to be a PhD.
Oh no, yeah, that I agree. That's what I was
Speech
arguing
taken.
against.
I'm comfortable with not.
What I was thinking though is if we're going to say that she's in her mid-30s, and your Henry obviously kind of gave her, it was already mentioned that she would get miskatonic treatment. So it could be the case that she's an alumni, right? She went to the school. She's already had her
Sure.
stuff. She's done. And then when Arthur kind of like in writing or by phone mentions to Henry, oh yeah, I'm going to go to Nelson again. And I'm investigating these weird lights that were up there. Henry, not in his prime, and his man not in a state to go shooting strange doppelganger creatures, would probably only trust his living offspring, and then forming that relationship between Molly and him in the current age, and also determining what her profession is kind of my focus for now. So what is she? Like, what is her occupation?
Didn't get that far.
Well, that's where we're at.
Okay, all right.
Speaking of
Calm down.
occupation, I have a question.
I'll say God.
Go ahead.
What's
Stay slow.
what's the difference between like
Slow.
a professor and a Lovecraftian professor?
So, Lovecraftian professor, I think, would be more someone who is kind of teaching. Oh no, hold on. Sorry, the Lovecraftian.
Because it doesn't like really specify.
I see.
Tell you what.
So Lovecraftian is the 20s. It's referential to the 20s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you'll notice that there are some jobs that will have the Lovecraftian tag in the list of occupations.
Yeah.
It's more or less referring to, I think it's book related.
Okay. Well, because there's like a police officer, Lovecraftian, and just a regular police officer, and
I
I think there's
that
a librarian one.
I think that it's mainly focusing on the when.
Okay.
I don't think that the Lovecraftian is like, because there's also classic and modern as subtags. Classic would be kind of like prior to current, but maybe not Lovecraftian, maybe not the 20s. So I think we're
Right.
actually more in kind of like a classic state. And then, because Aviator would not be a Lovecraftian job role, right? 1920s, there weren't really planes.
Yeah.
But we're in the 50s.
I mean, there were,
but not really.
Not really.
Right?
Yeah.
So Aviator is more of a classic job in that it is a 50s, 40s, the like.
Okay.
That's the way I'm looking at it. And again, some jobs are kind of timeless. So they may have multiple entries in the occupation list that you're looking at. So don't be like Professor probably has the gamut. So yeah, don't be too backed off by that, because I don't think occupation doesn't really add anything to you, right? Just credit rating.
It determines skill points and some of your skills.
Okay.
So
That's a lot.
for
It's a good amount.
Professor, it's library use,
Same thing.
psychology, languages.
It's quite large.
Quite
Yeah.
much. That's a bit.
It's quite impactful.
So go ahead.
Also, it determines the the formula for how you accumulate skill points. It's not like,
Right.
yes, I get more with this, but also I utilize, I think it was like appearance as well as education with this.
I don't see any appearance ones.
I know dilettante was, and
Yeah,
I was
well,
pretty
that's
pleased with it.
because it's part of the occupation.
I would say as a kind of like more free floating kind of mentality on most of the rules. If the job makes sense for you in this position and has an entry that's only Lovecraftian, you can utilize it. If it has multiple entries, look at them both and see if there are differences. Whichever one you favor, we can utilize, and we can make. So, for example, like if modern professor gets paid less and has like a lower credit rating than like an older professor, or whatever the difference therein would be, we can work out why you would be utilizing either an older variant or a newer variant. Obviously, no modern jobs because we can't have a hacker. So that would be illegal. Or we can all play hackers and we can hack the planet.
Hell yeah.
Could I get a character sheet to roll stats to help determine
You have
what
one.
profession I'd want?
Its name is Zach. It's right under Henry M.
Are you
Fitzgerald.
shitting me?
You are
I don't
Stomwell,
think
right?
mine is working.
Yes, me. Oh yeah, I got it.
You said yours not working?
Yeah, because I choose the profession and I click next, and when you can buy points, mine doesn't have any points, it doesn't have any totals, it doesn't have anything like that.
Oh.
Well, I gave you a second sheet, Chody. Its name is Egerbray Sketustru, because that's the name it gave me at random. It's also a good name. I'm going to write that one down. But
Put an R in front of that, you got a deal.
Ragabray.
Standard and non-pulp, correct?
Correct. Well, we kind of pulp, but yeah,
Extra pulp.
Standards for the build. We use
Okay.
pulp mechanics.
Okay.
I mean, I could cancel this and just use my old rolls for the point buy to try again, or do you want me to just try a new character sheet?
I got a new character sheet for you. You've got the character sheet
Oh,
you
wow.
have. You do whichever method you feel will get you to where you need to be. If it's convoluted and messy, we'll try for the second sheet, or you can just go for the second sheet now. Your call. Live your life.
Okay, I'm gonna.
I believe in you. I've always have. So as we
Good looking, Ezra Paul.
As we work on the character sheets here, and I'm just going to be kind of adding some background noise here as I talk, I'm going to read the blurbs I posted in notifications, and then I kind of want to walk through a couple of beats in there that I feel are important and noteworthy, and might be stuff that your characters noticed in game. So, countywide emergency broadcast. The following broadcast is put out over radio waves and television broadcasts in Essex County, seemingly focused on towns and cities near the Miskatonic River. A civil authority has issued an immediate evacuation notice for the following townships: Boxford, Chaplainville, Georgetown, Nelson, Rudy Plain, Topsfield, MA, at 12:42 p.m. on December 5th, 1952. Message from please take immediate action. Message from EMA. That was a weird typo on my part. But anyways, go now. Evacuate immediately on main state roads and highways towards Arkham, spelled with no H, Boston, Lawrence, or Salem. Head immediately to your nearest emergency department if you are unable to evacuate of your own accord. Sub-zero temperatures past 4 p.m. expected. Snow levels estimated in the tens of feet. Regarding interesting points here, Andy, we played a game at the very first case, and I want to make sure you understand. I only said there are 2 changes to your character's paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
One, the name of Baiko is not Baiko, it's Nelson, and it always has been.
Mm-hmm.
I did not say anything about any other names for any other cities or counties.
Mm-hmm.
So your character very much still believes the truth of the matter should be what?
That this is Nelson.
No. The city of Arkham is spelled wrong.
Oh. So my character knows it to be spelled wrong? Oh.
You feel that's the case.
Okay, so that wasn't clear. I thought I was a different character, or kind of a different version.
Oh no, you are the same character. Everything's happened exactly as it has, except for the 2 differences I mentioned. The ending.
Okay, so wait, I never knew Abiko, but I
Right.
thought that Arkham was spelled with an H.
Correct.
All right.
But it never changed from not H. So you are still of the mindset that Arkham is supposed to be spelled with an H, but everyone around you thinks you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a broadcast that was put on TVs on December 5th at 12:42 p.m. in around Nelson. A note regarding the details of that. The snow that was advised against didn't come last year. It was dark and cold and quiet. Everyone left in confusion from the small towns and were happy the weatherman was wrong. It was days before everyone got back to their homes, and people passing by the old town on the hill of Nelson said they saw strange pale lights in the sky around the hill as they made their way north towards Lawrence. Lawrence, a larger city in Massachusetts, kind of in that direction. Nelson had changed a lot of things to make it more safe for the worried townsfolk prior to this storm. They'd had their fill of it. The 20s were a horrible time for the town of Nelson, with strange robberies and murders of people alone in their cottages. This is a reference to the one-shot. Cops shot while investigating the graveyard. Reference to you already know. Women just vanishing in the middle of the night. Chody, that's your fault. A fire at a poorly maintained speakeasy of an establishment with bathtub gin and rum smuggled in from Canada. This did not happen on scene. The 30s saw a complete takeover of law enforcement by the Pinkertons in the town, which was an unprecedented and largely unwelcome change for the town. Throughout the 40s, the town was little more than a ghost town, with many of the younger citizens dying on foreign shores in World War II, and the older folks passing away with their properties and assets being seized by the Pinkertons. As the 50s dawned in Nelson, a large amount of Pinkerton presence began to vanish from the town, presumably returning to Arkham. The formerly agricultural small town was then taken over by beatniks, anti-materialistic folks who rejected the conformity and consumerism of big cities and the working class of the small town. They turned the town into a commune for artists and philosophers who swarmed to the space due to the looseness of laws and enforcement around cannabis that had been growing in the area for decades. We referenced this during the last game as well. And they had an independent radio and television station that put out concerning content. Something serious happened in Nelson on the 5th of December. The winter was harsh, but nowhere near what was stated in emergency broadcasts. Now that the area around Nelson has been set up as a quarantine zone, detours have been established for Salem Street and Boxford Street, streets that lead. If you look at the map, you remember Baiko is kind of in between the 2 streets that kind of connect and then go up to Lawrence. Those streets are the 2 streets I'm referencing. They're all detoured out. And now folks in the surrounding towns are reporting missing people in their towns to a troubling degree. You're a group of investigators. You've taken in the reports of the pale lights of December 5th and the people who have gone missing since. The town of Nelson is where you and your group are headed. Why is your group focused on this strange town, and what's going on in it? I know Arthur's reason. I think I feel and understand why he would be interested in this perspective. Is there anything that the group members that are not Andy would think on or consider as a part of the impetus why you'd be interested in this and kind of pushing towards this? Or are you being pulled along for the ride due to circumstance?
I would say circumstance for mine.
Okay. You want to investigate more and research more, but the thing is
Yeah.
you don't know where to start. Arthur seems to know where to start. Erica seems to know where to start. You're focused on what they're doing. You're going with them. Okay. Again, sorry, I apologize. I don't know if your student would be on a first name basis with you. So Miss Wynn would be interested in kind of focusing on. Well, that's actually another question that's kind of important. And again, presumptions. Obviously, a 20-year-old college student probably not married, right? No family to speak of because of your orphan background.
Yep.
Erica Wynn, Elizabeth, I'm assuming just like familial ties. Your father or mother are probably both alive, but your grandfather's long since passed away. Dude was 60 and also not insanely rich. So that's that's
Bingo.
fair. That's where he fucked up. Is Erica Wynn? I'm assuming she is a very career-oriented woman. So I don't think that she is married, but that's not my call. Muted.
Sorry. I was actually thinking, like, husband died in war, very
good.
common, so.
And maybe, very interesting. It's a bit romantic too. So died in Europe, right? And so, as a part of your dissertation, it was also an excuse to see where he was buried. And don't they have a mass burial sites in France or somewhere?
Yeah,
World
I
War
have them
II?
in a couple of places.
Yeah, somewhere out that way. That's very
Flanders.
cool. Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right.
I think.
Um,
If I'm thinking of the right one.
I recognize the name Flanders as a place like the crosses, yeah, and the Royland Hills. Very pretty, and very cool. Very interesting part. No children though, right?
No.
Okay. Cool. I won't feel as bad killing your character then. I mean, what?
So
Also,
added- no.
before we go any further,
Yeah.
Brett's character, is he alive? I'll walk. I'll leave.
Raymond Revels.
No, Brett's current character, he's about
yeah.
to start playing. He's alive.
Is he so real quick? I reveal a few things from behind the veil that I want to make sure are clear on this side, Zach, and I want to make sure you understand. Everyone in this group is who they say they are. There are no intruders. There are no plants. I am not doing a bit. I am not lying to your face. I am telling you the truth. Everyone is who they say they are. In fact, Andy for a minute is like, so I'm the bad guy? I'm an intruder? You're just telling everybody up front? I'm like, no. You are just a different version of Arthur, one that we have not seen yet. An interesting but different version of Arthur. So, nobody here is a bad guy. Yet.
No.
There
I just burned an orphanage down at the age of 7. It's fine.
Oh, he burned an orphanage down
Might be
at the age
bad
of
guy.
7. He had an imaginary friend who was a burning teddy bear. So we have our problems, right? Are you leaning into Fitzgerald's daughter?
Probably, if I wasn't gonna be her, it was gonna be some actual detective
Okay.
of the area.
Well, that we like, and it would be interesting because again, they're going into an area that is
Who's just on payroll for Fitzgerald mostly.
well, they're going into an area.
Not like I'm inheriting his money. It's just I'm chasing after
You're a hireling.
a big
But what I was saying
a
is,
big score with this one.
you are. They have no avenue for entry, right? It was going to be kind of worked out that they would have an avenue for entry into what we know as Vico. So being a law enforcement officer actually gives us a method for
Might
us.
be a private detective.
Well, even still, connections in
Because
law
that sounds
enforcement.
fun. Yeah, they would have connections.
That would give us kind of a way of cutting through the tape, so to speak.
I really like a Dick Tracy type.
We love it.
Sounds fun.
Okay, so then you were hired on, and you are not actually a part of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
You're
I'm
not.
not Molly.
You're not a part of the group like the brainy kids. You are literally hired to
Hired to track down Arthur Fitzgerald and make sure he does it.
Arthur Haynes.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know how that
Unless
comes
you,
out, but I've done it before.
did you name your son after the famous and beautiful professor that you hung out with back in the 20s? Is that
No.
no?
Hey.
That guy's lucky to be alive.
In fact, in my thing, it had me pick like a person who my character idolizes, and I put Arthur because he's the one for the, the leader of the occult study.
That makes sense.
He's the living legend, by the way. If you're worried about it.
Did the second sheet also suck, Chody?
Yep, I think it's the professions. I tried computer programmer and computer technician. They both did the exact same thing.
Did you have stats loaded into that character sheet?
What do you, I mean, I did the character master builder, man.
Okay. You had stats. You went down the list.
Yep.
That's weird.
I changed
Because it seems because the screenshot you gave us, the initial one, it looks like you just didn't have an occupation there, so it's not trying to calculate anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I waited for it to process too. It wasn't like it was frozen.
Okay. What I'm gonna do here is this is gonna be hold on.
If you just want to walk through it and see if it'll do it on your end, since you're hosting.
I'm gonna kill the second sheet. Egabray!
We barely knew him.
We barely knew him! And I'm going to create Glockona. Okay, it's also a good name. Damn, dude. This name generator has definitely stepped its game up in recent years. I think the closest name I'd gotten before this was Fustus-ish, or Fustus... what was his name? Zach Vanoff's character.
Yeah, he played that name. He
said, "Oh, it's a random name. I'm going with it," and he yellowed right into it. It was a very fun character. But
yeah.
Okay, so I am in the Character Mancer. We are building a standard character next.
That's what I did.
We are going to quickfire. Is that what you said, or roll all? Right?
I did just roll. Yeah.
All right. Bam. I hit roll all. We can adjust them after the fact, or you can stick with what I got. Then we are going to age, and you are how old? 20?
25. He's older. He had to work to get into what
Yeah.
he got.
He didn't get grants from the country. Okay, cool. Next. Choose an occupation. What are we wanting?
I did computer programmer and computer technician both, and they did the same thing. So either one, whatever you feel would be more likely.
Let's see. I think technician is what we want. It's stating that it's because it's a modern position. I see. Let's go. I got it. Okay, choose skill point calculation, EDU times 4. Choose a skill.
I did computer use because you said that needs to be in it.
And then electrical repair. Sleight of hand. Oh, because
either one, sleight of hand or electrical repair.
It looks like it wants. It already gave you electrical repair, library use, and spot hidden. Sleight of hand is a good one. Okay, next. Now I'm on that same page that you are on, and it's fine.
Can you buy points?
What do we put them in base?
What about engineer?
No, because engineer is more kind of like the building of or the.
See, that's mine. Didn't show anything at the top, like your total points and the numbers that you have used and stuff. Both of mine didn't show that.
Whoops.
Here, hold on. The best way I can get you to follow along is I just put myself on stream. I think I came to the same problem.
Oh, because there's no numbers.
In the base. Yeah,
That's what.
Is that what you guys are at? Oh, hold on.
Oh, I had mine perfectly fine.
Okay. I mean, I guess we can just skip that part and just move to the next bit and just manually add it in the sheet once we get to it.
Yeah.
As long as we know how. Yeah. I didn't know. calculation wise?
Yeah. I think I just made your character. Feel free to fill in with your initial roll, if you can find it in the chat log, and then you can go ahead and also. It'll be more of a manual process for the skills, I think, on your side.
Fine. How do you know how many skills you have?
Great question. Let me move Glock over here. So, it was 4 times EDU, I think it was. Was it not? Computer technician. Yeah, I'm trying to hold on. Let me see. TV/radio technician Call of Cthulhu. No. A lot of the side check usually don't have a suggestion for it either, which is why I think I came to the decision I did. Glock Ona is not something you can see. Let me give you control. Hold on.
That's what I can't see him.
Sorry.
Oh, like glaucoma.
GLOC space ONA.
But you can't see it.
It's there now.
Like
Got it.
glaucoma.
So your occupation skill.
Okay.
Your occupation skill points will be education times 4. Your credit rating will be somewhere between 10 and 70. Your suggested contacts will discuss. IT workers replace that with fellow broadcast engineers. I guess engineer would be fine. Let me just read engineer's description. We might go back. Sorry for being a pain. Yeah, it's basically the same. Employed in civilian business or in the military, but also including inventors, mechanical or electrical devices. It doesn't really deal with the broadcasting element. Fuck it. We'll just make it simple. Electrical repair is the ticket. We don't have to split it into 2 separate skills. For the Chody character sheet, there should be a method to restart it. Is there not?
I did not know of any.
Okay. Sheet number 4.
Shim.
I said sheet, not shim. Sheet number...
I see it should be.
There it is. So you got a new sheet. So you're just going to go ahead and process it. I just realized it's 7 o'clock already. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. And making Chody character sheets. This one is Chauvin. Not your fault. I also put the problem on the table by trying to complicate broadcast stuff. Because it is... We're just going to go with electrical repair.
So I'm using the Chody character sheet and just adding...
No. Use the Chauvin low-fast, and then just go ahead and use the character mancer, but instead of doing a computer user, just go for engineer.
Okay. Can you give me access to it?
I did. Do you have it?
I'm refreshing to see. I don't have it.
Chauvin low-fast. Chris Chody. It's now underneath Henry Fitzgerald. It was at the top of the list. It was outside the character folder. Baby cat, what are you doing?
Shit.
Oh, dirty chin. What's that dirty chin?
Oh my gosh.
Idiot. How'd you get a dirty chin, you stupid dum-dum?
Eaten.
It went... I'm going to give up for tonight since we're so far. It went straight into like it's already built, man.
No worries. We'll deal with it. So the main thing is during this next week, we'll work through the character creation. I think we've got the thrust of everybody's narrative beats. So just to be sure, I'm going to answer my own questions real quick, just very, very fast. So Question 1. Why is your group focused on this strange town and what's going on in it? The focus seems to be Arthur Haynes, Erica Wynn, and their focus on it due to its relation to the kind of esoteric nature of Summer of 27. Then we have why is your group, we got that, how are you made part of this group of investigators? Brent is a student that is joining Arthur and Erica in their endeavors, probably like a student that's someone that they like or are kind of focused on having along due to capabilities and research tech. Chodi's character is a technician who has been suggested by the Psychic Foundation that we've mentioned a couple times in the past, and is also a student as well. Not a direct student of yours, but a student in the university who is trying to make money to afford their schooling there. And the private investigator that Zach is building was basically forced upon Arthur Haynes by Henry Fitzgerald as his eyes and ears, and also your law connect to make sure that things don't get out of hand like they did in 27.
We shall see.
Gotta shoot it.
See, we're gonna have the
Just gotta
same
shoot it.
dynamic this time round, aren't we, Zach? You have
That's up to
that
you,
set up
mister.
perfectly. Well, you set
This
it up.
is the second game that Andy's been threatened with, like
Zach-
before the first.
I know.
Why did you agree to go to the town even though there's an apparent risk here? For Arthur and Erica, obviously there is knowledge present here, and that is important.
Yeah, unfinished business.
For Arthur, yeah.
Yeah.
And then for Brent's character, for them, it's more just an understanding.
Fire.
They believe the things that you say because of their experiences in their own childhood, but they can't really bring those forward, right? That's not something that they can mention. There's obviously something supernatural in this world that they kind of understand to exist, and so they want to know more about themselves by learning more about what lies beyond. And then Chodi, whose head and hands can't fix the character sheet, his character is in a fucking state.
You look good with bangs, dude.
You do look great with bangs. He is he thinks it's all a hoax, and it doesn't feel like he's in any danger. Doesn't realize he's actually going to be, and feels like he's going to make some good money on this trip.
Bunch
And
of mumbo jumbo.
the private eye is here because he was hired to be, and he's also a trustworthy associate of one Henry Fitzgerald, someone that Henry feels they can trust on this job. That's it. Those are the questions I needed answered, and I have them all. Any questions for me before we sign off? Okay, then that's what we're going to be. That's what we're going to be starting with. We'll be starting with a decision during next game. During the middle of the week this week, I'll be showing you the map of Nelson, and what you'll be deciding is how you wish to enter it. Thanks for watching those that did, and we'll see you next week.